You're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camuno here, and we are back with episode 40 of the Money Monopolizers podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good because we just recorded that episode, and that was really one of my favorite ones. I liked a lot of what our guest had to talk about today. I just want you to go ahead and introduce who we have, but I really did enjoy what he had to say.
Yeah, man, it was a super fun episode, man. So today we had my man Kashief Edwards on the show today, and we kind of got into it with his business, which, if you don't know him, he is the vending king. The name of his business is King's Vending. So but yeah, he's pretty much the go-to guy in all things vending machines, really all over. Like the dude has a huge following on Instagram. I think he got 122,000 followers last time I saw, with just and his page is strictly about vending machine stuff. And so we just got into it. This guy, he owns 20 vending machines, and he said his business is generating 15 to 20,000 a month just off of vending machines, right? And the reason I really am excited for this episode is because vending machines are kind of something that it's stuff that we see all the time, right? But we don't really recognize like the business model behind it and the business aspect of it, right? There's a lot of things in life where you just kind of just go and you don't ever think about the other side of it, right? And vending machines is one of them. How many people have ever really thought of, how much money a vending machine makes, or what it takes to restock a vending machine, or how do you even get a vending machine, right? The business model of a vending machine is super progressive in a sense. Like, you can sell anything in a vending machine. You don't have to only be selling snacks, right? You could even be selling cars in a vending machine, right? Freaking Carvana. Carvana is a huge vending machine for cars. That's essentially what it is, right? I mean, you drive down the highway, a freeway, and you see them things in there. That's really all it is. I mean, that it's just getting into the a whole nother business. Obviously, this is something unique than what we've done and what we talk about. But this is something, we're just trying to provide different perspectives on this show about different ways to make money, because we always say, there's so many ways to make money if you just open your eyes. And this is like one of those examples of opening your eyes and seeing vending machines literally all around you. I guarantee you, obviously, if we weren't in quarantine right now, you listen to this episode, you're going to walk around and you're going to notice vending machines a lot more. It's going to be a lot more apparent to the eye now. That's just how things are. So, but yeah, in regards to the episode specifically, man, I really, really liked it, because the biggest thing, that comes with, like I said, regardless of what business you're getting into, there's a mindset shift that comes with getting into business, right? And there's a transformation that has to happen, right? Especially if you've never been in business, you don't just hop into this. Like, you might think it sounds like, something, simple, but no, it's not. This is something that takes, just as much effort and time and education and, as for that transformation to happen, right? There's a mindset shift. So that's what I really want y'all to listen for in this episode. We talk about it in the beginning, talking about that mindset shift in terms of like switching your mind from being that employee to being a business owner, if this is something you want to do. Like I said, this is not a hobby. You don't just do this as a hobby. So really understand that perspective as you listen to this episode, and really understand it from the perspective of, not looking at it in the way you might have looked at it before, right? Even though it's a vending machine, don't even look at it like that. Look at it as a business, right? And that's what you should take from this, or that's how the perspective you should have with this episode. So that's what I thought about it. Marlon, what'd you think of it?
I mean, you said a mouthful already, but nah, seriously. What I like the most is that it really puts it into perspective and showing that everything around you is a business and everything has a science behind it. Because if you think about it, like he was going into details about the importance of knowing what location you're putting your vending machines in, what's going to get the most foot traffic, just a lot of different little logistics, even talking about knowing your audience, because he was talking about like how one demographic made like a certain brand of or certain flavors of a product versus another demographic in an area maybe wants something else. And so you have to take all these things into consideration that normal people won't even think about. Like if you just go into a vending machine on the corner, you're not thinking about what it took in order to get this product out here and basically being a business that's providing to you. Like you don't even think about all those things. But if you want to get into the business, these are things you have to think about in order to be on that B side of the cash flow quadrant. So I really like how he was able to break all that down and being able to show you what it takes in order to get into this particular business. But it also goes to show that this happens in all businesses. Like I think that's the general thing people should take away from, is that in each business, these are the type of things you need to be thinking about in order to run a successful business. So
Cool. Yeah, that's, we ain't got to keep talking about it. I think we got a good long episode for y'all today. Stay tuned to the end. Really, if you really want to, learn what this business is, you got to listen to all of this. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah. Hey, Kashif, how you doing today, bro?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Can't complain.
That's good, man. You staying safe out there?
Most definitely. What about y'all?
We good. Still in here quarantine, man. So
been in the same spot for about 25 days now. So it's getting ridiculous, bro.
It's definitely the most sitting around I've done in a long time. But I'm trying to use the time, to be constructive as possible. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. First I just want to say I appreciate you, taking the time out to come. Because even among this, I'm sure you still super busy. You still got a lot of stuff going on that you could be doing right now. So I appreciate you, taking some time out your day to come on here and talk to us, talk to our audience, and provide a lot of value. Which I'm actually super excited for this episode. I think this will be like one of our biggest episodes, just because this is something that a lot of people could get into. A lot of people can really use this to supplement their income and really advance their life and build some wealth. So yeah, I just want to shout you out for that.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
All right, cool. So let's get right into this though. So vending machines there. You are like I was kind of mentioning it before. You're like the go-to guy for the vending machine business on social media. And you kind of grown into that over this past year. So, the thing about vending machines is that people kind of see them, but you don't ever really think about them. You see them all the time, but you don't ever think about them from the business standpoint, right? There's a bunch of things that people kind of see in their day-to-day life that they don't really ever think about, in from the financial and the monetary aspect, and what's actually going on behind the scenes. But most people just have that consumer mindset when they see things. But you kind of took a different approach, and you really got into it on the other side of the register, which I think is dope. So can you kind of just give us your background and how you really got into the vending machine business and kind of where you are today in the business also?
Okay. I mean, the way I really got into it is mainly, when I was younger, I used to spend a lot of my time in recreation centers, mainly because I played a lot of different sports. So on the weekends I had basketball practice, at this rec center, with my team. But every weekend, it was this lady who would come in and service the vending machines there. So in all the recreation centers, it was always a Gatorade machine or a snack machine or something the sort. And I never really, up at that point, I was probably around 16. And I haven't really, I wasn't really paying attention to it in terms of thinking of it from a business mindset at that point. Well, when I started paying attention to the person who was servicing the machine, it kind of, it kind of clicked something in my head. So the lady would come on a week. I still remember it was the other day. She would come every Sunday around 11 o'clock. She would come in there with her little push cart with her drinks and the snacks on it. And then she would take all the money out the machine and then put new products in there. So, And it stuck with me because when I seen how much money she took out, I was like, damn, I wonder how much one of those machines costs.
Yeah.
And even at that point in my life, I was already kind of entrepreneurial. Like I would be selling waters and stuff like on the corners, or I'd be, with me and my brother would go to people's yards and clean up like for money or whatever. So, it kind of stuck with me when I seen it take the money out. It was just like, it's easy money. The machine is just sitting there. You don't really got to do nothing for it. You're just collecting it. So, that's pretty much how the idea came into my head. And then later down the line, after I got, after I got into the real world, and I started working and whatnot, and I just wasn't feeling it, I started thinking of different ways to get out on my own, like, be my own person. And my first thing I wanted to get into was real estate, but I didn't have enough money. My credit wasn't right, so usual story.
Yeah.
But so I was like, damn, like what's something I could afford, and that's when the vending machine thing popped back up into my head again. And I ended up. It was actually, it wasn't a smooth transition because my plan was to get a machine, save up enough money, like basically keep flipping the money till I had enough to get my first like property. But it really didn't go that way. Like I tried to get a machine, it didn't work the first time. Actually, it took me about 2 years before I ended up actually being able to get the machine in the first place. I ended up doing like candy machines, which are like gumball machines, the little quarter ones. Before I actually got to the big boys, I just took it from there.
Yeah. So how old were you when you actually decided to, like, because you say you mentioned the gumballs, how old were you when you got into like I guess that in general?
I mean, I had to be like 20, maybe 23.
23. How old are you now?
I'm 30 now.
Okay, you're 30 now. So you've been in this for a while. Okay, cool. So, and at that time when you got in, you were just working like a normal 9 to 5?
I was working a lot. Like, so I was working the normal 9 to 5. Then I was doing overtime there. And then I also was doing, and I also had another job. So, at my highest point, like I really was just trying to get out. So I was trying to work as much as I could to save as much as I could up, so I could invest it and then create another stream of income big enough where I didn't have to work. Like, so I was trying to compact all of my years of working into one.
So then the biggest thing that I could see just from what you're saying, the biggest thing you wanted was freedom. You just wanted freedom, from that job. You wanted to get, be able to do what you wanted to do when you wanted to do. So, you mentioned that you was you had the entrepreneurial mindset already. So it was kind of like a natural fit that you should like get right into, something else. And you started doing the vending machines or you started doing the gumball machines on the side. And I think that's really key, because even though you were working the 9 to 5, because the thing about the thing about being an employee and trading in your time for money is that you have a limited amount of hours in a week, right? Like your body can only work physically a certain amount of hours in a week. But as opposed to you getting into the vending or the gumball machines, and you can have an unlimited amount of those, right? Like you can have 1 million gumball machines if you really wanted to. Like you ain't got 1 million hours in a week, and that's the difference between business and being an employee. Each of those machines that you had was like an employee, and you ain't really even had to pay them. So it was,
and that's kind of how I looked at it, man. I know, because some people be like, even like now, somebody inboxed me and said, well, they was thinking about doing the vending machine thing, but they was like, somebody told them it was like slow money. But it's first of all, it's all about the location, and then it's just about how you looking at it. Because even if you're doing 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, like whatever it is, you can multiply that as many times over as you're willing to deal with. So when I was doing the candy machines at best was only averaging about $50 for the month. And I started out with 4. I had 4 candy machines. And I just kept buying them because I had the mindset like, if I just get enough of these, like it's gonna make me something like where it's actually I could feel, or that's gonna be enough to save. So I just kept buying them, and then with those they were also like real passive. More so passive than vending machines are, because you only have to do the candy machines like once a month, like where vending machines you do like weekly. Yeah.
That's what I like about your whole story is that it's all about your mindset at the end of the day, because you thinking in terms of, man, I'm about to just pack in all my work right now. Like as soon as I get started working, I'm trying to get 3 jobs. I'm trying to have a side hustle. I'm trying to do all I can to be able to start investing and then basically give myself the time and the financial freedom that I so desire. So you just basically being intentional about how you're using your time early on. That way you'll be able to pave your way for later on in your life, so you can be able to do what you want by age 30 instead of having to work for somebody else until age 65 or whatever. So, well, all that being said, what does your portfolio look like today? Like, how much revenue is your business generating per year now?
You talking about the vending machines?
Yeah.
Big overview right now. Then we'll start diving deeper into like the logistics of how you got into your first deal and stuff like that.
All right. I mean, so in general, with the vending machine, they average between like 20,000 a month. So. Wow. And then you got, but you got to pay for your product. Product costs could be anywhere between, around like 35-40%. It could be higher depending on where you at. It could be lower depending on, different resources and whatnot you're using. And then you got your commissions. Most of my spots, I don't pay commissions. But your commissions, you might, average around 10% of that. And then the rest would just mainly be, you'll have your miscellaneous. Like I would go another like 5% for miscellaneous, then the rest is I usually like take home. So
that's about 55% is like all your expenses, and then you take home the rest, somewhere around there.
Yeah, something around there. Probably a little bit more because you still got I got factoring like gas, that type of stuff. But it's not too much past that.
So how many machines do you have?
I have around 20. So my number goes up and down because I buy routes and then I'll sell some, and then so whenever I'm looking to make a move, like I recently brought like a little unit, like a apartment, John. And then so when I went to go do that, I sold off a few of my vending machines with the accounts included. Like so, I sold the machines with the location, and I took that money and invested into that property. So.
Got you. Okay, we're gonna get into that here in a minute. So each machine is generating what, 5,000 to 1,000? Yeah,
they average around. Mine's personally average around 500 per machine. Like so, other people. So I know I got another guy I do business with. Like he has like a real big like warehouse. He has real big business out in right outside of Philadelphia. He's the person I learned a lot of my stuff from. His average around $1,000. Like so, he does like hospitals and that type of thing. Like so, he does like bigger accounts. My accounts are like medium size, so mine's average around 500-600. It just depends on the type of location that you're getting. Like mine are usually like apartment buildings, office buildings, different types of facilities where people hang at, motels, all that type of stuff.
Okay, got you. Okay, yeah, we definitely finna dive into that. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit more about the entrepreneurship thing because you post about it a lot on Instagram, and you are big on like that whole entrepreneurship mindset and really switching from Robert Kiyosaki has the cash flow quadrant. You got the E and the S, which is the employee, the self-employed person on the left side, and then you got the B and the I, which is the business owner and the investor or the inside trader on the right side, right? And I can see you definitely are a proponent of being on the right side of that whole quadrant. And I really, the reason I want to talk about this is because like no matter what business you want to get into, right? Vending machines, real estate, trucking, whatever it is, it's a mindset shift first. And I think people need to understand that first, because it's like one thing for you to sit here and talk about, oh yeah, I mean these machines. I mean I gross $15,000 to $20,000 a month, right? But that didn't come just because you decided to I don't want to work anymore. I think I'm gonna just go do this. Right. No, you have to switch your mindset and actually get into that whole entrepreneurship mindset and getting comfortable with the fact of with the things that come with being an entrepreneur, right? Like for example, the risk, right? There's risk with being an entrepreneur, and everyone really responds differently to the risk. Because if you look at, like I talk about the quadrant, you got the E and the S. Well, the E is going to go look for a job, right? That's how they're going to respond to risk. The self-employed person is going to go try to do something else alone. The business owner, like yourself, they're going to try to create a system or products that are going to produce money. And then you got the I. They're going to look at for an opportunity to invest. And I think that the risk on the left side with the employees and the self-employed people, that's greater than the risk on the right side, because a lot of people think it's risky being in business, but really, in my opinion, the biggest risk is from actually being an employee and a self-employed person, because you're just cutting off all your potential. So can you kind of talk about that for a minute, like just kind of that whole mindset shift and what it really takes to become, an entrepreneur or a business owner?
Right. I think, going into it, you can't just kind of, in my opinion, you can't just jump into it. Like you kind of, even when I was at the point where I was just working just to save money, I already had like a plan in my head. Like I already, like, you really got to get the knowledge down first and figure out what's going on with these businesses. How are they making money? Like, how is this person? How is that person? You got to study like the game. And I'm pretty much, even though I use vending, I was flexible about my ways to get to my goal. Like I know the end of the game, my main goal was this: to be comfortable and to have some type of freedom over, some type of control over, how my life goes. I don't want somebody to tell me, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like I want to be in control. Like whether I win, lose, or or fail, whatever it's going to be. Like it'll be up to me. But I think the biggest thing is educating yourself, and then with that education, I mean, to me, it opened up. And that really opened up my mind into thinking the way that I think now. Like, so when it comes to like investing and whatnot, my main goal is I want to get to that investor part. I am at the business owner part now, but I'm transitioning, working on my transition to become where I'm just investing, and I ain't got to worry about the daily ins and outs of, how everything is going. So.
Okay, so you said you keep mentioning educating yourself. So I know there's like plenty of real estate courses. There's plenty of stock information out there, or real estate information. But is there really that much vending information out there? Like, how did you go about educating yourself when you were getting started?
Good question. No, it's not. It's definitely not. And even with the real estate and all that type of stuff, no matter how much I actually read or whatnot, like you don't really learn until you start doing it.
For sure.
Like so you could read and do all that stuff as much as you want, but like you're really not going to learn until you get into it. Like you'll have some type of guidelines, you'll have some type of plan, but once you get into it, that's when you really, at least that's what I feel. That's how I learned the best. So for me, I looked up the vending stuff. Like before I got into it, I did some research. I really wasn't finding that much on it, like which ended up leading me to even make that vending biz page that I have, that platform. I think I really didn't find that much, and then what I did find didn't make sense. So I think one study showed it was like vending machines average, like it was like $2 or something, $2 profit, something crazy. And I was like, man, that don't even make sense compared to what I saw with my own eyes when I was younger. You get what I'm saying? Like I seen a lady take the money out the machine. I seen people use it. After I seen her take the money, I really started paying attention to how much people use that. It was a Gatorade machine, how much people were using it. And now I went to I went to stores. I started seeing, I was looking at the price of them, see how much versus how much she was selling them for, like figuring out profits and stuff like that. So, it just didn't make sense. So I knew I wasn't going to learn until I actually got into it. But one thing that's always happened with me, I've always been an action taker. Like, so I started, and then as I started, I found I found mentors along my way. Like, so I found one person who was willing. When I was doing the candy machines, to break it down a little bit, I kept buying them, and I had one person in particular I was buying a few of them from at that time. And the guy was like, "Yo, why don't you get into vending machines?" At that point, I had already tried, but it didn't work. Mm-hmm. So he was like, "Well, I got this machine here." And then somebody else came up and ended up finding a location for me. I was like, damn, well, I'm gonna try it. Like, so, and it just ended up working out. And then along that way with me with that first one, he taught me a lot of stuff about how they work and different tools with the business. And even just watching him do his, as he had vending machines himself, I learned some things of what to do, what not to do, like, that type of thing. And then once I moved on from him, I found another mentor, and then, so on and so forth. And the same thing happened with me, with like real estate and other different like adventures that I do. Is this, you got to really get out there and try. And that's your trial and error is going to be your best education, like, versus the books and, all the, the courses and whatnot. You got to actually take action.
You had mentioned that you talked about the guy with there's a guy that introduced you to a vending machine. Is that how you got your first one though?
That's how I got my first one. Yeah.
Okay. So was that just kind of like you just bought it and then he told you like where to put it and you kind of learned from that, or was it more so like he told you exactly what to do, or was it, I don't know, how did that go?
I brought it from him, but at that point I had already tried, so I was already studying, and then like in terms of how the business works. But my first time around, it didn't actually work. Like, so I tried to place a machine in a hotel downtown here in Philadelphia. The machine ended up not fitting. So that squashed that. Then I tried again in a recreation center, similar to the one I was familiar with when I was learning, or not learning, just peeping game when I was younger. And then they ended up buying a vending machine and kind of snaking me out of that deal. And then the money that I had saved up ended up getting swindled away. I got married, spent it on like the wet and the whatnot. So I only had enough left to actually get into the candy machine thing. But okay. So that took a while. But with that first machine, I pretty much learned the technical stuff. I learned a lot of the technical stuff from him. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of the actual way to get sales and whatnot, I pretty much just figured that out on my own, just from trial and error. Like, so my first machine, when I bought the products, I was just like, I'm in Sam's Club, like, I wonder what I'm putting in here. I was like, okay, I know these is good. I know these are good, but you can't go by what you like. Like, I was picking everything that I like. I'm not even thinking about, you got to put in there what the consumer likes. Like, so I put some stuff in there, shit is just sitting there, but I know it's people in here. I'm looking at all the people around, and it's not selling that much. So, and then, and I asked them, like, yo, what do y'all want in the machine? And they told me, and then I'm like, all right, well, that's what I'm going to get. And I put that in there, and it started selling like crazy. Like, so, it's this trial and error type thing, man. You really don't know what you got to do until you do it.
Yeah. So then what would you say then is like, because I know we're going to kind of talk about each aspect of the whole business. Because like I said, I took the course and I kind of like saw the key points in there. So I want to break them down. But like overall, what would you say is the most important aspect of having a successful, vending machine business?
So I would say you got to differentiate yourself from everybody else. It is competitive. Like, it's competitive. Even right now, I think it's a good time, man, because, it's a lot of them are down. Like, with businesses right now in general, not even just with the vending, the bigger companies are struggling because they have so much overhead. Like, bigger companies in general have a lot of overhead because they have a lot of employees, they have a lot of properties, blase. It'd be easier for somebody smaller to jump in the game right now if they're in a situation where they can't keep up with whatever they got going on. You might be able to slip in and get an account or two. That's actually how I got one of my best accounts. But the thing is going to make a difference is your number one would be like your ability to build like relationships with your accounts, like, so your rapport. So basically like your service, like the better service you can provide, the more likely that account is to keep you there and then refer you to other places to help you grow. Like, because then they like, they'll put you on one or two other spots if they got friends, for the people working there. But for the owners, a lot of time the owners will have multiple, businesses. Like, if you own a hotel, sometimes that person owns 3 hotels. Like, they might put you in the other one if they really like what you're doing. So just finding a way to build that good rapport and then making yourself different. One thing that I do that's different is I use, and if you took the course, like, I use like, I'll do like scratch offs in there sometimes. Or like if it's the holidays, I'll put a gift card in there. Like, just different things that make the machine a little more fun. I do BOGO, buy one, get one type of thing. So, and that's and the customers like that, like especially in like office buildings and whatnot, when you got repeat customers and it's not like really in a public place, they really appreciate that type of stuff. So that helps you stand out.
And I think that's important to know with every business too. You gotta find a way to differentiate yourself from everybody else, because you have to find a way that, like, what is gonna help you occupy the mind share of the consumer or your customer or whatever it is, right? It has to be something that makes you memorable. Because if you're just doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, there's no reason for them to pick you apart in a crowd versus everybody else. So I love that aspect, and it's really important, especially right now, like in times where things are struggling.
And another thing I would say too with that, like, for me personally, I don't use brand new machines. Like, I use older machines and I just fix them up nice. Like, I'll put a card reader on there and whatnot. So some companies will come in and try to use the the newest equipment. So if you already have a good rapport with them and they trying to steal the account away from you, which I've had happen to me like multiple times. But I always have a good rapport with the either the managers, the property managers, or the owners. So they usually keep me around versus like the bigger companies. So that's definitely important, especially if you're not going to use like the top of the line equipment. You just want to make sure like you really picking that slack up, with your people skills.
So okay, let's break it down then. So whenever you get into the business, then should you be buying a machine first, or should you be getting a location first? And I guess whatever you want to talk about, then we'll talk about that aspect, and then talk about the the buy or the other aspect after.
Nah, so you definitely want to get the location first. You want to build your brand first, like get all your paperwork and stuff in line. But then after that part, you want to definitely find your location first, because the location is going to tell you what type of machine they need. Like they might already have a soda machine. Maybe they looking for a snack machine. So maybe it's maybe it's a small account and they can't fit 2 machines. Maybe they just need a combo machine. Like so. You really don't know what it's going to need until you get there and talk to them. And then you look at the environment, you look at the doorways, is it different obstacles that's going to stop you from getting that machine in there? And and I learned that lesson kind of my first time around. That's what stopped me the first time when I mentioned about the hotel. The machine just didn't fit. Like, so I had got a combo machine, and the people were telling me, we know what's going to fit. It's going to be good. Because when I had actually wanted to go look at the location, I'm looking at it like, I don't think the machine is gonna fit like where they want this machine at. And they like, yeah, that's it. Well, we're telling you, we've been in the business for 20 years. This is gonna fit. Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay. And they brought that machine from 2 hours away. It was in Maryland. And they got there and then it didn't fit. Like so, I just ended up getting my money back and going back to the drawing board. And trying again later on. But yeah, definitely want to get it first. Man, you definitely want to get the location first.
Yeah, that's. I think that's makes sense though, because I feel like when it comes to locations, like it don't even matter. Like when you talk about machine or location, it don't even matter like what's in the machine if it's not in a good location, right? You could be giving away $5,000 in a machine, but if it's in Antarctica, ain't nobody gonna see it, or ain't nobody gonna get it, or so that's super key. So Marlon, do you have a question about that before we moved on?
Oh no! So I'm gonna stay within location. So like just starting off, what makes a location like a good one versus a bad one? Of course you don't want to have it in Antarctica or nothing, but like if you're trying to decipher where you want to go, how you deciphering which one's a good location?
All right, so I go by about I think it's like four to 5 things that I look at. The first thing I'm looking at is the like surrounding area. So I'm looking if I know some people everybody don't use traditional. I do traditional. Some people sell like here and stuff. But I'm looking at if they're selling what I'm selling in that area. So for me, I'm looking at like stores. So I'm looking at corner stores there that's selling like food or Wawas or whatnot. Y'all probably I don't even know if y'all had those.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So any store where they sell what I'm selling, that's what I'm looking for in the immediate area. So I give it a few blocks radius. So when I pull up to the location, I drive around it to see if I see any stores, and I go a block or 2 out, drive around there. Just to see if I see any competition, basically. If there's no stores in the area, that's a good sign because then I have more leverage. Like so, and I have a better chance for people to use my machines. Yeah. The next thing I'm looking at is where they want the machines located. So obviously they should be somewhere where people can see them and multiple people can have access to them. And the only reason I say that because sometimes people want the machines like in the basement somewhere, and then people might not know they're even there. So you want them somewhere visible, like lobby areas, waiting areas. Like it's always the best places to put them where staff and visitors can use the machine. After that, I'm looking at the hours of operation. Right, so how long is this place open? How many days of the week is this place open? The more it's open, the more chances I got to get sales. So that's important. And then probably the last thing I'm looking at is the foot traffic, which is like the biggest things. So how many employees, how many people in and out of the building on a daily basis, that type of thing. So those are the main keys that I'm looking at.
Yeah. Okay. So then, because you talk about, well, just going back to that first point, you talk about surroundings. So typically, I obviously depending on like the neighborhood or the area that you're putting it in, are you looking like for areas that are like food deserts? In a way of like, there's like no grocery stores around, or when you say like no food, other food places like restaurants or just like gas stations or what does that mean?
I mean, like, what if I'm trying to see if they're selling what I'm selling. So if it's just like a pizza store or something like that, I'm not really worried about that.
Yeah.
Because they're selling like pizza. If they selling like if it's like a corner store or like a convenience store, they're selling what I'm selling. So people can go there and get the same thing that I have in the machines from that place, a business. So I like having the situation where those aren't around. Like I have some like factories and whatnot. They will be like out far in the middle of nowhere. Like that's the type of those do the best because the people are going to come to the machine to get their products. Like they're not gonna go to the store or whatever. They're not driving nowhere. Like they just gonna come right to you.
So then you had mentioned about the hotel thing too, when you tried to put it in the hotel and then they said to kind of move it. So I guess where was it in that hotel? Was it like in the lobby or like, and they told you like put it in the back or like what was that like?
You mean with the course?
Yeah. Sorry, that was the one you. I'm thinking you had mentioned it. That was the one with. Yeah.
So with that situation, they wanted it in a basement, right? And I didn't want them inside, and then also with that situation, it was a gas station right next to that hotel, right? So when I was watching, and I analyzed first before I even make a decision. Well, I'm putting it in there, not like I just told y'all. So. Mm-hmm. With that situation, the checkout counter was like, in the lobby, of course, and then there was two big doors where people could walk out the side of the building, and out the side, a few feet away from that, in walking distance, was a gas station. So I'm like, all right, well, I don't mind that gas station being right there because at the end of the day, it's rare you're gonna get all those factors. Like, you're gonna have to pick. As long as you got a few of them, you could be cool. Anytime that's the scenario. That hotels usually have high foot traffic. That one did have high foot traffic, but it had that the gas station right next door, which I was planning to do. I was just going to undercut their prices, like so whatever they was selling something for, I was selling a little cheaper. That way, they still going to use the machine. But the issue was the guy wanted it in the basement. So if it's in a basement, people don't even know it's there. They come check in and then they turn that left and go right out that door and go to the gas station. Like, it's only a couple feet away. I'm like, well, if we could put them in a lobby, and it was a huge lobby. Like, if we could put them in the lobby in the corner, this somewhere where they're visible, I would do it. But
what I like about all this is that everything, like I said, is a system. Like when you're finding a location, there's different metrics that you have to meet in order to make sure it fits. And it's just like it happens in all business. Like you need to make sure that your surrounding area is a good area where you don't have a lot of competition, where your business can thrive. You also need to make sure it's a lot of foot traffic. Make sure people are going there, because if ain't nobody there, nobody's gonna be buying. You're gonna be sitting there. Then you got to make sure, like you mentioned, hours of operation too. Like I guess hotels it might be a good one because they're always always moving, always working. Same thing you mentioned earlier. Matter of fact, at hospitals, like they charge you more for it just because I guess they have a lot more traffic, right? And so, are those like part of your best locations? Like, are there other ones in general that you may like that's gonna be like high on your list if you see them? Like, okay, I need to get my vending machine in there versus somewhere else.
Yeah, so anywhere with like waiting areas and like with those factories I just named, like those are the ones I really go after. So in general, like traditionally, the hospitals are super hard to get though. Like, it's really hard to walk into the game and try to get a hospital because those are the ones like the big companies are going after. They want those. The hospitals make a lot of money. Like, but in general, more so like motels are attainable, hotels, laundromats. I recently got a laundromat. Office buildings, like those are the ones that traditionally, do good. Especially like laundromats and whatnot, because it's like you sitting there while idle time. Same thing with office buildings. They have a lot of idle time. Like, you have a kind of like a captive audience, so to speak. Like, so,
gotcha.
Yeah, those ones do better.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that part, talking about the hospitals, that it's hard to, like, you can't, you ain't just gonna be, Joe Schmo and hop in the game and be like, yo, San Antonio Presbyterian, let me get a contract. You ain't just gonna happen like that, right? But the thing is like, or thinking of it from the business perspective, whenever you actually want to go and like secure a contract, how does that actually secure a location? How does that actually look? Is there contracts that you have to go and get, or like what should you be doing in order to actually go secure? Because like you said, you can't just, you're gonna have a lot better luck going to a laundromat or some apartment complex or something than you would a hospital.
Right. The process basically is I have locators. So the locators they do what we call cold calling, and they'll call different establishments and set you appointments if the establishment is interested in having your services. So once I get the appointment, I sit down and meet with that place. So for example, I'll use the example with the laundromat I just was talking about. So I sat down with them after they set me the appointment. Then we discussed what they were looking for. So in that particular situation, they already had 2 vending machines in there. And that's another thing. People think because they have vending machines, like you can't get in. You can still get in if they have vending machines, if they're not happy with the service. Or sometimes that's their personal vending machines and they just don't want to deal with them, or they having issues with them and they don't know how to work them and whatnot. I've seen that many times. So with this situation, the guy had 2 vending machines who owned the laundromat, but he didn't know how to work the machines. So so he had a snack machine and a soda machine. The soda machine ended up having like an issue with the thing that accepted the coins, and the snack machine wasn't working. He told me both machines were broke. The snack machine wasn't working because it had a coin jam. Like all you had to do was just knock the quarters out, and it's fine. Like but he didn't know that because he just wasn't familiar with it. Like he wasn't really paying attention to it. He's running his laundromat. He wasn't really thinking about the machines, but so much. So he told me what his issue was. We sat down. I agreed to pay him for those machines, and then I'll put my own machines, in there that would be newer and have card readers and all, bells and whistles type of thing. But basically, once you come up with an agreement, you put it into contract. So you sit there, you talk about if the type of products they want, the price points, how the service works, how often you gonna come, what if something goes wrong, who's responsible. Once you got all that talked out, you just put it on paper, and then you get them to sign your agreement. And your agreement is going to be basically whatever you guys discuss, and it's going to have to be a term on it. So my terms are usually 2 years. Like I usually do a 2-year contract that I'll provide service on them for at least 2 years at minimum. Long as X, Y, and Z are taking place. Like as long as I'm doing what we agreed on, we be in there for 2 years at least. Yeah. So at that point, when you get the contract back, that's when you actually go. That's when I go and get the machine, and then I'll bring it in. So I don't even get the machine until I have that contract signed.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're going to hop right into the machines app, but I got a question about that because I think a lot of people think about, like when you're explaining, I feel like a lot of people will be thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, so I got to go there, probably got to pay them something to have a machine there, because a lot of people are not thinking from the perspective of that you're actually providing a service for the location as well, right? It's not. It's like most people might be just thinking that it's like, you're only getting something from them, but they're getting something from you. Them having that machine there makes their, location a lot more attractive. It makes it more people, would be willing to spend more time there. They won't leave.
Appealing. Yeah, it's more appealing. It's considered like a amenity. Like, when you go to different places, like it's an amenity. Like, so yeah, you don't always have to pay commission. Like, because some people just want, especially like office buildings. Like office buildings rarely ask for commission. Like at least with the ones that I have, a lot of times you'll go in there and they'll just want a good service. Like they just want good service. They want the stuff to be fresh and everything to be working. And that's all they're really concerned about. They're not concerned about commission or anything like that. They just want quality service. So, that's why that's really important. Like I mentioned earlier, like it really comes down to your service and your rapport that you're building with your customers.
Yeah. And I had seen you talk about, don't offer them, commission if they don't ask for it. Right. Like don't just be going in there and be like, yeah, I give you 10%. Like, no, if they ain't ask, why you gonna do that?
Right. Like you're just giving away money for no reason because they're not worried about your 10%, but they'll take it if you just, give it to them. Like, they ain't not going to turn it down.
So it's a win-win on both sides. It's just not a direct, I pay you because I have this in here. It's I attract more people in here, or like keep people coming and leaving good reviews because this is in here in general. So it's adding value on both sides.
And then to speak on that one more second, like, I've seen like another hotel, actually the same hotel I was speaking on, like the one that didn't have the vending machine, the machine couldn't fit. They called me this year, like a month or two ago, You know, and it was crazy because I'm like, man, this address looks familiar. And when I went there, it was like, yo, this is the same hotel, but they still didn't have a vending machine to this day, mainly because of where they want the machine at. It just can't fit. If they would have put it in a different place, then it would work. But they didn't want to put it, you know, they don't want to put it in their lobby or anything like that for whatever reason. But they will always get bad reviews because they didn't have any vending. Like they don't have any drinks, any soda, so people will be in there for whatever amount of time just hungry, like because there's nothing in there to snack on. But they always got a lot of bad reviews. They really wanted to get the vending machine going, but you know they're not willing to budge on terms of where they put the machine at. So yeah, they need you. That's like you know you need them.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I just want to get like more into the logistics of like actually obtaining a vending machine in general now. So, how much do vending machines cost in order to get one? I know it may differ based off of what type you're getting, but just in general.
They average around $1,000. So usually you'll pay between $1,000 and $2,000 for your average machine. But you do have situations where you have to like if you want to upgrade the machine, you want a card reader and all that type of stuff. Different like you could put LED light in and all that, you know, make it brighter. Yeah. It's gonna be, you know, a little more. Card readers average around $350. Sometimes you have to put a new circuit board in there. The circuit board could be around $200. So, you know.
Yeah. So then, okay, how are you usually buying them? Because I know, you know, there's a bunch of places to buy them. You could buy them, you know, online or just go straight up and buy them. How do you usually buy them? What have you found is like the best method to buy a machine?
So the absolute best method is to find warehouses or suppliers, I should say, that have the machines there. Like, so I use about 3 or 4 different suppliers. Like, so whenever I need a machine, I know they got 50 machines, 100 machines over here in this spot. So all I gotta do is go over there and, you know, pick out what type of machine that I want. And then, you know, I'll grab what I want, and then, you know, I have rapport with all of them, so I use them for different things. Like, you know, some of them are cheaper, some of them have better stuff. Some sell parts, like so it's just like different parts that I use them for. But it's definitely best to find a supplier and then work with that person in terms of getting your machines. You'll be able to get them a little cheaper. They'll help you out a little more. And mainly, like, you know, what the way that they make money, like, is from selling machines to you. Like, so they help you in terms of keeping those machines going, because if you're not making money and you start to fail, you're not going to keep coming back and buying machines from them. You get what I'm saying? So they, you know, they look out. Versus if you just buy it, you can also buy them off like Craigslist and like OfferUp and those type of platforms. But when you do that, it's just like, all right, well, you brought it now. They, you know, your relationship is done. You basically, you know, right. You don't have any support.
Yeah.
Right. And then sometimes with those, not to cut you off, but with those warehouses and stuff too, they provide some type of warranties, like, you know, at least for like a few months or a year, depending on how the new machine is.
So you say never buy them from like, you know, Amazon or eBay or nothing like that, right?
Online, I mean, I personally don't, but I have a lot of resources around me. Like, it really depends on where you at. Like, if you're in a spot where you can't find, you know, that resource, like, so even for me, it took me years to find these people like this. They were already there. I just didn't know where to find them. Like, so even my first machine that I brought, like I said, I brought it from Maryland. I went all the way out there. That's 2 hours away. Like, before I actually found the people that were closer by. So, you know, if you can't find anybody, then you just gotta do what you gotta do. But it's better to find a supplier near you and then work with them and build a rapport with them.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And so, when it comes to like the type of machine, because you know, just throughout this episode, you said snack machine, soda machine. I think you mentioned combo machine. How do you know which one you should be buying? Like how do you determine that? What do you base it off of?
You base it off the location. So if your location is large and it needs, and you base it off of the foot traffic and the things that you're, analyzing as you're looking at the spot. But if it's a large location, and you see it's going, need a lot, maybe you want to put 2 snack machines, 2 soda machines in there, if they got the space for it. If it's a large account and they don't have any space, you're gonna have to, maybe put. All right, so machines come in different sizes. So let me say that it could be 5 wide, it could be 4 wide. So like the width is different. They also come in different heights. Like, so really, it really comes down to how many sales you're predicting you'll get from this spot. If you're predicting you get a real high volume of sales, you want to put more machines in there so you don't have to go to that account more than once a week. Sometimes if it's a real busy spot, you might have to go every other day. Like, but if you put more machines in there, you don't have to keep going back and forth. You just, they got enough supplies, like, enough product. So that's really what you're basing off of. If it's a good spot and they don't have enough space, I'm gonna put a combo in there. But I also use combos if I think it's a slower account, but I want it anyway. Like, I'll just get it and just put a combo in there. So combos hold less product. Like, they don't really hold that much, because you got a combo machine is half snacks, half soda, or half beverage, whatever you're selling. So, if something smaller, that's what I use. So it really just depends.
Got you. That makes sense too, because I feel like, because you talk about products, and we're gonna kind of transition into that here in a minute. But when it comes to like the products and stuff, because a lot of times the thing about vending machines is that they've like grown to more than just like snacks and like drinks and stuff like that. People, obviously, Colorado, they selling weed in them. Everywhere they selling like eyelashes in the airport. Kylie Cosmetics got vending machines. People got all kinds of stuff in their vending machines. Is it like, I don't know. I feel like it's like one of those businesses that's like it evolves with the times kind of too. So it's like it's very progressive in that sense too. So it's really, I don't know. That makes it another really attractive reason to really be getting into this.
Right. I agree, man. People. If you, in my opinion, if you see something working, like you see something that's already working, they've been around for a long time. Like, so it's obviously doing something right.
Yeah.
It's just about taking what's already working and, and innovating it. Like, putting your own twist on it. I've seen people selling socks, like you said, people selling all types of stuff. They're making them work different in terms of the technology they're using with them now. Like, so, just taking it, putting your own twist on it, and, growing it. That's all it's really about.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Then let's talk about the products then, like in terms of like purchasing products and how that actually like works and the logistics of that. So what do you think is the largest like factor in determining like which products you should actually buy? I guess obviously I'm sure it's going to be location again, but I don't know, maybe it's not. What is that?
So it's demographics. So yeah, which is location. Like, so, you got your staple, I call them staple products, is going to sell in any spot, like peanut M&Ms, party mix, like Pepsi, like all that type of stuff is going to sell anywhere. Iced tea, like that's like across the board. But it's certain stuff that you want to use depending on who your customers are. Like, so if I got an old people's home, and at old people's home, I'm not putting Skittles in there. Like, I put Fig Newtons in there. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, so it's different. Like, you got to really look at who you're selling to and then base it off of that.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good. Even with your price points are down to not just what your profit margin, that you're aiming for, is going to come down to your audience. So who are you selling to? And then also, where is it at? Like, is it an airport? Airport price, is going to be way higher than something that's like in an office building. Like, you get what I'm saying? So it just really depends.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned demographics, because, when you think of it, like, obviously, if you in, certain areas, you got to put certain snacks in there that's going to cater to the people that's going to be in that area, right? So what products kind of go like in black areas versus white areas? I'll just be straight.
All right, I got you. I get what you're trying to say. All right, we get real with it. All right, so the black area, right? My audience is black. It's more flavorful stuff. Like, so let's say I'm using Fritos. I'm using a barbecue Fritos versus if it's a Caucasian, situation. They want the plain Fritos. You get what I'm saying? They call it class. They like the classic stuff. They don't want all the extra flavor. This is most of the time anyway, from my experience. This is what they told me. Like, it's not me making it up. Like, that's really what they want. That's what's going to sell. If it's more so like Hispanic, it's like more spicy stuff in there. Like, so it just really depends on who you're dealing with, and most of the time that's what sells. Like, you gotta give them what they want.
Yeah, and that's real though. You gotta, and that's all that is at the end of the day, is knowing your consumer and knowing who your audience is and knowing who, what is your target audience. Because if you putting Lay's and pretzels in the black area, then you might not be so hot. But putting the stuff that they like in there. And like you said, it goes back to like not putting stuff you want in there too, right? Because I mean, I could if I had a vending machine, it's gonna be probably 3 products in there if it was only what I wanted, right? It's gonna be some Doritos, some barbecue Lays, and some other stuff. And that's it. But I mean, I'm gonna sit there and wondering like, why is it not doing well? And it's kind of the same thing like with real estate too. When you flip in a house, you don't flip it based off like when we flip houses, we don't do it based off of what we like and the finishes that we like. We doing it based off of the finishes in that area and what the comps say that area likes, right? So that's I think that's important.
Definitely. This is city consumer, man. That's real big with any business. You gotta listen to what the people want.
Yeah. So then, where are you getting your products? Then, like, how do you actually where do you actually go to like purchase them?
So majority of my products come from Sam's Club. Other than that, I get them from some of the suppliers that I have with the vending machines. They also sell products. So outside of that, like you can get deals for like Pepsi and whatnot. They'll bring you like shipments and stuff. I don't really have to do that because I get it through like the other guys that I do business with. But if you were to get it from like Coca-Cola or Pepsi like themselves, you could do that. And then once you actually purchase a certain amount, like if you agree to purchase a certain amount of the product from them monthly, they'll actually give you vending machines for free. Because they want you to move the stuff, like so they'll just give you the machines, and then you just buy
brand new
product, brand new. They'll give you the whole machine, like if you on contract with them for buying X amount of products per month, because they looking at it like both of y'all get the eat off of it. So
yeah.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense then. I mean, so if you have vending machines in like multiple locations, like all around the city, or maybe even further than that, there's got to be like some type of process for collecting the profit for one, and then also restocking in order to keep the business moving. So is there like a process that you have set for that, or are you like driving around like one day out throughout the week and just collecting from everywhere, or you have somebody that's doing that for you? How's that working for you?
So for me, like me and my wife does it. So I mean, so for me, I'm trying to streamline it. Like, so the way you streamline is with systems. Like y'all talked about earlier. The more systems you have in line, the more it can be streamlined. So what I use now is I'm using different softwares. So when I first started the vending, I wasn't using like card readers and whatnot because it wasn't really a thing back when I started. Now it's like everybody wants the card readers and whatnot, and then I really wasn't too pressed to use them, but after using them, they increase sales, right? But although they increase sales, they do charge you for using them. So it's like give and take. But the way they help you streamline is with the software they come with, they'll tell you exactly what's in the machine and how much the machine made without you having to go over there and checking it. So before, when I was doing it, I would have to go to the machine to see what it needs, write it down, and then go back later on and then fill it up. Right? So I would have days when I checked it, then I would have days when I filled it up. So it's like 2 days out the week, and my other day will probably just be organizing and then getting products. Like, so, you know what I'm saying? But now, since I got the systems, and I'm testing different systems, I know what I need, so I could just go straight there with the stuff in hand. It's like it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah.
And that's the importance of systems in general, because I mean, you said when you first started, you are literally going there twice a week. One, just to go check and see what's needed. Second time is to go restock it. So it's like you're very involved in your business at first when if you're first starting it up. But if you start applying the systems and putting those in place, like somebody or the system that's telling you what is being sold, like how much progress is being made without you being there, that's the ultimate goal, because that's where your investment becomes passive, or your business becomes passive, and it's not requiring you in order to operate. And now you have the time freedom to do whatever you want to on the side without having to worry about going to restock or go to check and then go to restock and stuff like that.
Right. And it allows you to grow more, like, and bring other people in. Like, so I was always kind of sketchy about bringing other people in. I do bring people in from time to time, but with the vending machines, it's a cash business. Like, so if you don't know exactly what's in there, they could say you got 30 machines, right? You go 30 machines. They could take $1 out of each machine, and you probably wouldn't notice that. Like, but at the end of the day, that $1 that they take out every week, by the end of that year, will really add up to some good money. Like, so, it's real important that those systems are in place if you're planning on bringing somebody else on board, because you want to be able to track with your product you're supposed to have, what money you're supposed to have, and then make sure the person's actually doing their job. Like, so that's the main reason I'm really, getting tighter with my systems, because I'm planning on, putting other people in place so I could do less,
Yeah. I think people really got to listen to that part too, again, and understand how important systems are, because it's the difference between you working 80 hours a week and working 10 hours a week, those systems, right? Because, in the beginning, obviously in the infancy stages, you had to, I think I'm an advocate of doing everything yourself in the beginning so you can learn how things are done, and then you can outsource it to someone else so that you know that they're being done the right way once you do get to the point that you can outsource it. But the systems are important because that's, like you said, allows you to scale. Because, you look at all the business models out there, right? You look at McDonald's, right? A lot of people think that, McDonald's might not be the best burger, and it might not be. A lot of people can make a better burger than McDonald's, but a lot of people can't build a better system than McDonald's has built. McDonald's system has been, I don't know how long McDonald's has been around, since Ray Kroc founded, I think, late 50s or whatever, but that system has been in place and it has never changed. You can adjust it and whatever, but no matter who gets into McDonald's, if you go buy a franchise, you have to buy into their system. You don't get to make up your own system. And that's, they know the importance of systems to a successful business. So
So did you see that? You seen that movie when they actually put? Yeah, that movie was crazy, man. You see how much time they spent on just that system, not even about the burgers, anything else. Like, so yeah, the systems are definitely important. Even when it comes down to, I'm also in the process of. So I'm also big on using the same type of, especially when I was doing the candy machines. That's mainly where I got that from. Just using the same type of equipment. Like, so I use the same type of machines over and over again. So right now I probably use like 4 or 5 different types of machines, but I want to start switching them out, and then having them, as many of them as I can, to be the same type of machine. So that way, if I bring somebody else in, like when it comes to programming and whatnot, it's simple. Like, you know how to do one, you know how to do them all. Like, you don't have to learn this one, that one, that one, and that one. Like, this is, it just makes it smoother. Like, put it best. It's a better system. Like,
and that's important. So have you gotten to that point where like you have, like, how many vending machines is it for you to where you think, okay, I can outsource everything now? How many do you need to like say that, or how many routes or whatever in general?
I think it really comes down, it don't come down to the number of machines. It comes down to how much you bringing in and how much your profit is. Like, you could have 10 machines and be making as much as somebody with 50 machines if your locations are this better. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think you have to get to the point where you're making at least, like, I would say 15,000 a month, 10,000, somewhere around there. You'll have enough to bring somebody else in and start like stepping back more.
So have you brought somebody else in and you kind of have somebody?
I'm a bad trust. I bring family in. Like, so I got a cousin I do business with. My wife does business with me. So we do it together. But I gotta finish fine tuning my system before I feel comfortable bringing strangers in. I gotta know what everything is exactly, and I want to make it as smooth as possible. When it comes to actually going my route for them, and I can go in and maneuver how I want, because I'm real familiar with everything, and I put it there. Like, for somebody else to come in, it might be confusing. Like, so.
And I forgot the word for that, but there's a word for that in business, to where you hire an employee and they should have no questions about anything that's done. They should literally be able to come in, look at a book or watch a video or whatever the case may be, and know everything that needs to be done from A to Z, and won't mess up anything. And that's the most important thing once you get to that level, then you're starting to get into that B quadrant, that big business, and now you can really hop out of your business, which is that's the goal. So
right. But I think before you bring anybody in, like any business, you really gotta have that system in place, man. That's important.
Yeah, for sure.
If not, then you just setting them up for failure. Yeah,
definitely. Cool. So speaking of failure, then, so within business, there are a lot of downfalls, no matter what industry you get into. That's the thing about entrepreneurship. You're getting into something where you have to be ready to fail. You have to really embrace failure and be okay with failure, and have the mindset that you're going to learn from failure. So when it comes to that, what are some of like the downfalls of the vending machine business, in terms of, like, I'm not to say like not to downsell it or anything, but being real, like what are some of the things that people should look out for?
So for me, I know. All right, so the ability to lose accounts, like, so you don't have a brick and mortar, you basing your business off other people's business. Like, so you really dependent on them to take care of business and to flourish, because your machines are in there, and your success is kind of based off theirs. So you really got to be good at picking spots. So one thing that happened with me when I first started, when I got my first 2 locations, I ended up losing them. Not because of anything that I did, but they actually got shut down by the city. It was a motel. It was a crazy motel. And it was like my best spot. Majority of my income was coming from that spot. But I was making more than I was making at work. So I was like, I'm tired of working anyway. Like I'm out. Like, as soon as I got to the point where I could afford to take care of myself without working, I did. Like, so, but I lost my spot. Then I had a school at that same time. Summertime came, the school closed. I'm like, damn, I ain't got no income. So I had to go back to work, right? Real humble. Like, I had to humble myself. I really didn't want to do it. I had to go back to work and kind of rebuild. Like, I rebuilt. And the second time around, I diversified. Like, so that's why I started looking into using the money that I'm taking from the machines, and not only buying more machines, I'm buying other stuff as well. Like, so I'm not just putting it all in one spot, and I'm not just getting one type of location. I'm making sure I'm not only getting schools, I'm getting other types of places. So that's real important. But also along that line, man, I seen that the first mentor I was using, he went out of business. Like, so I got a chance to watch things that he was doing that I really felt like it hurted him. So one thing was he was afraid to set his prices. All right, so when I got the hotel, the motel that we wanted to shut down, that first one that I got the machine from him, I was setting my prices, and he was like, man, that's a lot for this, that's a lot for that. And I'm looking like, man, this is like standard price. Like, it's not a lot, because I got my prices based off of how much I spent, and then I also got it based off of the market. Like, I went to stores, and I went to other places trying to see how much they were selling the same stuff that I was selling for. Like, and one thing was a canned soda. So canned soda, I was selling it for $1. He was like, man, and I sell those for 65 cents. I'm like, you really ain't making that much money selling it for 60. Like, he really undercut himself. Like, so don't be scared to set your prices. Like, so when I dealt with this with some of my mentees too, because you'll go into a spot who might have had bad vending services, or maybe somebody just sometimes older people do that. Like, they might have a vending machine just for the sake of having it, like this is a hobby or something like that. So they might have had low prices, but they weren't even taking care of the machine or whatever. So the person or the company wanted some new vendors to come in and do a better job. When you come in and with your newer equipment, you got your better products, you doing your service, but your prices are higher. Or they might complain about the prices, and then you might just lower it just to satisfy them. But don't cut yourself short. Like, a lot of people cut themselves short with their prices. So you really gotta know your numbers. Know what you should be paying in commission if you're paying the commission. Know what your price point should be. Know what your bottom line is. Don't go below that. If they're not happy with that price at your bottom line, then it's not the right location. Like, pick another spot.
Mm-hmm. That's I never really even thought of that, because the first thing you talked about was kind of basing your business off of somebody else, and really you're predicating your success off of somebody else's success, especially in this day. That's super key, because I mean, you could have be making $10,000 a month, and then this business goes out of business, or a couple of these locations go out of business, or whatever the case may be, or a situation like now, right, the vending machine might not necessarily be affected by this whole pandemic, but their business might be affected by this whole thing. Then now you're predicating it based off of that. So that's super important. And I think that just again goes back to location too. And that's the reason that's so important. So picking location. I mean, a hospital right now, I'm sure is a great time to have a vending machine. Right.
So some locations now, like, it's like some of them like went down, and then other ones went up. Like, so it's just like locations that would be good before, like office buildings, suck right now. But other locations like I don't know, what's the name of that? Like an old people's home or something, where like it might be a little slower, or like high right now. Like apartment complexes are already kind of good, but now they're even better. Like, so it's like like it's like some going down, some going up. It's it's just good to, you know, have it diversified and use different types of spots. Schools is all the schools are closed. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's not coming back. And schools are usually a high account. Like that's a high ticket account because, you know, you get so much traffic in the schools.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that, like just in general, because I mean, of course, right now it's like an anomaly. Like this is not something that you always would just expect to happen. So but in more general cases, how do you usually manage for those down seasons? I know, like you said, schools have their summers coming up, but other ones that you may not even be aware of. I don't know, like other places where you like office buildings, if they, I don't know when these down seasons may occur, but how do you allocate for that? Or manage?
So I think it's this time, man, getting creative. Like, so for example, hotels have a down season. Like wintertime and whatnot, their sales are lower now. But summertime, like when it's warm out, you know, all that, the sales like jump like crazy because everybody's traveling. Like, so you just kind of think about it. Like, so with the schools is what I do to help my income sustain with my school accounts is the machines. You know, you can move them around. So I will move the machines out. With the approval of the school, you know, I had the approval of the school. I'll move them out into the lobby area of the school, right? So now, although there's less traffic, they have more visibility and more people have access to them. So the sales, you know, they don't drop as much as they would if they were to stay where they're at. You get what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I do. You know, because the schools that I have a lot of extracurricular activities. Like, so they have a lot of like tournaments, different like plays and all this extra stuff that's going on outside of the school year. So if I move them out in the lobby, it's like, you know, they still get action versus if they're still in the back somewhere, you know, they're not going to see that.
And that's crazy because I'm just thinking about it. In our high school, we had like big commons area, and there was 2 vending machines there, and we was in a school of 3,000 students, and it was only 2 vending machines in the whole commons. It was probably, I don't know, 4,000 square feet of space, but 2 machines, and in the morning it's packed. Every square foot in that area is packed. And I'm just imagining how much money, because people was walking in and out of there every day. They was probably making stupid bread off of that one. So that's
with the school. Sometimes you gotta go like twice a week, 3 times a week, depending on the school. Like that's why it's good to have multiple machines in there. Sometimes you ain't gotta keep running back and forth. But sometimes they don't let you know. They don't want them to take up that much space.
As far as like, because you know, you always hear about like you know, people kicking machines and like trying to like steal from machines, getting free snacks. I mean, sometimes it's justified whenever you pay and you know the machine snack don't come out, you be like, yo, you be mad. But like, does that actually happen often, or like what is, like from your perspective, is that like a common thing?
No, it's not really, for me personally, it's not a common thing. I haven't really had too many vandalism issues. Mainly because the way, you know, it's the way that I analyze in my locations. Like, so if I'm picking a spot that's visible, that has a lot of traffic, so to speak, there's always going to be somewhere people can see it, and then there's always going to be other people around. So it's kind of harder to sit there and mess with a machine if it's people around and it's somewhere people can see it. Like, so, you know, that kind of wears that out. But you know, that's not always the case. Like, you can have, you know, vandalism issues. And so that's why it's good to have insurance in your machines as well. So that's, you know, definitely a good point.
So you just get insurance with like Geico, Allstate, anyone?
Yeah, they have business insurances too. You could just ask them. It's a different, you know, whole different setup, but yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so instead of just like vandalizing, I want to talk a little bit about like the wear and tear of the product, because it's like a perishable item. Just like if you buy a house in real estate, this is something like things can break in there over time, or things can degrade. They can start basically going through wear and tear. So how do you account for those, and like do you give different reports about like your products malfunctioning over time?
So that's why another thing when I mentioned like using the same type of machines, because you know it's also a good reason to use the same type of machines for like what you just said, wear and tear on parts and whatnot. The items in the machine, like, you know, if it's selling, you ain't really gotta, you know, worry about that. Long as you're not, I would suggest, especially in the beginning, buy products as you need. So, you know, see what it needs. That's why when you go and do your checks, or if you got the software, let it tell you what you need, and you go buy it and you put it in there. That way you get your full shelf life. Versus it just sitting somewhere in storage and you're not using it, and then that time is ticking and it's not even in the machine. All right, so most of the products have a good shelf life, unless you're using like a food machine or something like that, and you have sandwiches in there. Then your shelf life will be, you know, shorter, obviously. So that's something to look out for. But in terms of the wear and tear of the machines themselves, if you're using the same type of machine over and over, you can always pull parts from spare machines and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, the machine for the most part is about 3 or 4 parts, to be real with you. So you got your bill acceptor. I mean, that usually, that malfunctions. Your bill acceptor, your coin mechanism, and then you got your board. Other than that, it's just motors. It's just motors and the coils. Like the coils would drop the product out, and then the motors are behind the coils, just turning the coils. So most of the time something goes wrong is either with the bill acceptor or the coin mechanism. All right. So that's majority of what you really have to get comfortable with messing with. And then the board, that's good 9 times out of 10. And then you also got your compressor on your soda machines, which is the thing that makes your sodas cold at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that reminds me of something, and because you talk about all these moving parts, and the thing about business, and the great thing, one of the best things about being in business is the fact that you can deduct stuff from as far as taxes, and that's one of the advantages of being a business owner that you don't have on the left side of the quadrant, talking about the E and the S as an employee and as a self-employed person. So when you talk about like the wear and tear and stuff on that, because I know with for example trucking, the trucks you can depreciate the trucks over every year, right? Based off of the value over 5 years. So if you buy it for $50,000, you can depreciate $10,000 a year over 5 years. So is it similar like that in real estate? Because I know with IRS section 179, they let you have the depreciation for machinery. So is it similar like that with vending machines too, where you can actually depreciate the value of the machine on your taxes?
I think if you're using them new, I think you could do that. I don't get the depreciation thing, because I already use used machines. But if you're using like the new machines, those have the depreciation. Like the older ones, they just set so. Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I guess somebody else already paid for the depreciation. That's the benefit of buying them used. You don't have to pay for the depreciation anymore. So nice, cool. So then we can kind of wrap this up then, because this has been going for a minute. But I think, Marlon, do you have another question to add? Because we're gonna just do the fast 5 real quick, and then we'll kind of end it up with that. Marlon, do you have another question?
Yeah, I'll let you publicize yourself for a little minute. So I know you had Alex been mentioning the e-course earlier. So what lessons are you teaching in there? Because I know that you said when you first started out, you didn't have too many resources to teach you the game and how to basically get into vending. You had to figure out a lot of stuff from your one mentor and then just on your own. So what lessons are you teaching in that e-course that people can benefit from to get started with vending?
Well, basically, I teach the necessities. So the first and foremost, the understanding of how it works. Some people don't understand how you can make the money off the vending. So how that works, where to find your resources, where to get machines, how different ways to find locations. Location is always a key thing people ask about. So I go over multiple ways to find locations in there, and other resources needed to actually run the business, like some of the paperwork that I use. As far as the contracts are included. And different things I keep as far as bookkeeping. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I would just tell y'all, get this course if you think it's something that you want to get into. Because the thing about this, you can't be afraid to pay for education once you get into business. And it's not, the course isn't even expensive, bro. You spent worse money. I guarantee you that. The thing about it is that once you get into business, you're paying, when you buy education, you're paying for other people's mistakes. Right. So now I don't have to go and make those mistakes myself. He's already made those mistakes for me. So I compensate for him for that. Right. And that's all it is. And I mean, you pay $50,000 for a college degree that, stuff in there you might never even use. A lot of people never even end up using their degree. So, you got to switch your mindset. That's part of being on that right side of the quadrant. You got to look at education differently. Right. So for sure.
Most definitely.
So cool. We're going to wrap up with the Fast 5. This is just 5 quick questions that you can answer in 60 seconds or less. And we'll just wrap it up with that. So I'll take the first question and then Marlon will take the next one. We'll alternate. So first question, what does success mean to you?
Success to me, it means basically, it's about you having a personal goal and you reaching your personal goal and being happy. Happiness is success. As long as you're happy doing whatever you're doing, you're successful. It's not about money or anything else, man. It's just about being happy in life.
Yes.
Yep. That differs for everybody. I like that answer. Okay, so question number 2. What's your favorite money or business book?
Money, probably Millionaire Next Door. It's one of my favorite ones.
Got you. I heard of that one. All right. Would you rather have $1,000 a week or $1 million today?
Yeah, I'll take 1,000.
Okay, cool. Simple.
Okay, question number 4 then. If you could go back and change anything about your journey, what would it be?
If I could change anything about my journey, I don't know if I would change anything, man. Be honest with you, because I like kind of where I ended up. But if anything, I don't know. That's a good question. I can't think of nothing I would really change. Even with like the downfalls and whatnot, I just feel like I learned from everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you are where you are today. Because you look at the mistakes as lessons and not failures.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's the difference. Cool. So last question: where can people find out more about you?
So more about me, you can check me out on my Instagram platform, the Vending Biz. And then we also have a website, how to start a vending machine business.com. Check me out on there.
Ooh. Yeah, this was a super dope episode, man. You are out here providing a platform, so we really appreciate it, man. Appreciate you coming on here, man. This was super dope.
Appreciate y'all.
Man, that was another good one, man. I love it, man. These are getting, better and better every weekend. And they're all great, but that one I really liked because, like I said in the beginning, man, this episode, it was about vending machines, but it's applicable to any business, right? This mindset shift that you had to have to get into business and really looking at it from the perspective, looking at business as a business owner and not as a consumer. Because a lot of people try to get into business with a consumer mindset. You have to first undergo that transformation, right? Robert Kiyosaki always talks about be, do, and have, right? In order to have something, you got to first do something, right? And in order to do something, you got to first be someone. Right. Mm-hmm. So being is that whole transformation. So that's the best thing I think you should take from this episode is understanding that transformation. Right. And we talk a lot about this in episode 27, too, with the podcast. So y'all can go listen to that one right after this one, too, if you really wanted to. And, understand it even further. So but yeah, I love this episode, man. Definitely one of my favorites. Marlon, what do you think?
I'm piggybacking off of what you just said with Be Do Have, because I've been reading that same book, Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, but especially the B part, because I'm thinking about when he first started, he talked about like how he would buy like the little gumball machines and he would just put in whatever he wanted in them, and he noticed that it wasn't selling anything. So the reason it wasn't selling is because he was thinking from a perspective of his own consumer perspective instead of basically how to sell to somebody else. Like, what do other people want? That's what a business owner is thinking versus a consumer. The consumer only thinking about themselves, where a business owner is thinking about a consumer and what they want. So once he got into that mindset of, okay, I'm thinking in terms of who my consumer is versus who I am, that's what really helped him make that shift from who he currently was into being the person that he wanted to be as a vending's owner.
Yeah. And the dude is, man, he's killing the game, man. I talk about all the time, real teachers versus fake teachers, right? And this dude is a real teacher. He's out there doing it, right? You don't go to school and take a class on vending machines. You can only learn it like from people like this guy, people that are actually doing it. So this was the best guy I promise you, there was no one else better we could have brought on this show. I can guarantee you that, from my perspective at least. So y'all definitely, I hope y'all enjoyed it. I definitely did. So, but yeah, anyways, that is it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us 5 stars. Come on, bro. 5 stars. Come on. Y'all, I need y'all to step it up. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can find out more info about us on Twitter at The Monopolizers or on IG at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged. So check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
Share those posts.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.